way we pay for our games is currently in a state of flux, with major companies throwing both old and new payment models at us to see which should survive. Now, this sort of experimentation isn't new, as any fan of shareware will tell you. But as we head into the next generation of consoles, it's important for us to look at all the available payment models and the lingo that goes along with them.
Some of these ideas are welcome changes to the status quo, whilst others demonstrate a worrying degree of greediness on the side of the developers. Right now, we're in the midst of another change brought on primarily by the exploding mobile gaming marketplace and the exponential increase in online connectivity. Many gaming executives are fascinated with the idea of offering games as a service rather than as a product. Essentially, this means that the payment models we have formerly associated primarily with massively multiplayer online games would be extended to other games as well. Monthly subscriptions instead of one-off payments, ongoing support and content for released games, and a focus on community building. Lots of games go a step further, foregoing the monthly subscription for reliance on in-game purchases. Many of the launch titles for the new generation consoles reflect this shift in focus, so it's time to break down some of the common terms and the connotations that come with them. Free-to-play has become a common term to describe a game's payment model. Mobile phone games have employed it for a while, and other formats have adopted it. Whilst it is a rather loose term, it essentially means that the game can be downloaded and played without the user having to pay a cent. To make their money, the developer offers paid services in-game. These are usually either cosmetic items to help players individualize their experience, or shortcuts to allow them to progress through the game at a faster pace. Payment is often essential for anyone playing these titles competitively, as a common trait of these games is that non-paying players are forced to grind their way through the game just to achieve what paid players can do in a fraction of the time.
The best games that use this sort of model are the ones that manage to balance the system so that the non-paying players can still have a good time with the game without feeling like second-class citizens compared to the paid players.
A game that has found tremendous success using this model is League of Legends. This game is entirely free to play and employs two different currencies to manage its economy. The first, influence points, are earned through playing the game and can be used to purchase gameplay-altering elements, such as new characters and specialty runes. The second, Riot points, are bought with real money. These allow players to purchase cosmetic skins to customize their favourite characters, but can also be used to buy characters and items, in the same way as IP, but at a significantly faster rate. This system is constantly tweaked to maintain the balance of free fun and paid competition. It's not perfect, but it's a damn sight better than most of the competition, and the main reason for the incredible popularity of the title. Other games that attempt this framework, but don't quite get the balance right, are cynically deemed by many players as pay to win. These titles use the same payment framework as the better free-to-play games, but fail to give the non-paying users a satisfying experience. Often this is because the developer locks content behind the paywall that is essential for players to be competitive. No matter how many hours they play, how hard they grind, how skilled they become, non-paying players will never be as successful as that 12-year-old who paid $15 for the Extreme Battle Pack. It's a mental issue as much as a gameplay issue, as players often feel like there's little reason to play if they have no chance at actually winning. Inexperienced developers often fall into this trap with their games in an attempt to extract just a little bit of extra cash from their user base, especially when the game's had a troubled development. Word of mouth can cause this approach to backfire quickly. Consider Hellgate London from a few years back. A sure thing before it was released. It was an atmospheric hack and slash loot game from the people who brought you Diablo. A tremendous amount of goodwill was squandered when they released information about the payment system. Players would all pay for the initial hard copy of the game, but would then choose whether or not to pay a monthly subscription on top of the purchase. This was intended to provide a VIP experience for the most devoted fans, but instead created a hierarchy within the game that caused those who skipped the subscription to suffer a significantly slower and more frustrating experience. The game died, the developer folded, and although it was resurrected as a truly free-to-play title by a new company years later, it remained an example of the devastation caused by locking the good experience away for those who can pay extra. Hellgate London was not initially a free-to-play game, but the issues regarding split player bases remain extremely relevant to this discussion.
Finally, we come to the newest and the most worrying trend so far. Now, there's no official name for this one yet, but the word premium gets thrown around a fair bit. This refers to a combination of both the old and new payment models, where a full price game is bought in a shop, and then players are offered in-game purchases to enrich the experience.
The Xbox One release was marred by this issue, with major titles like Forza 5 and Rise featuring an in-game store where players could make purchases to enhance their game. This seemed like a slap in the face to most gamers, who had already spent hundreds of dollars on the new hardware and software, only to be nickel and dimed for additional content as soon as they booted up the title. This caused a lot of angry discussion online, but unless sales suffer from the premium model, it's unlikely that it's going to disappear anytime soon.
The premium trend brings the worst of both worlds when it comes to payment models. The expense of the initial purchase, the irritation of additional payments, and then the split in the user base between those who pay and those who don't.
It is an unsustainable model that is insulting to those customers who have helped elevate the video game industry to rival Hollywood financially. We need to demonstrate our distaste of this trend in the most appropriate way possible: our wallets. Say no to premium before it is too late.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of The Game Room. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter. And now I'm going to leave you with the Game Room quote of the week.